Welcome back to the Trading Bell. We are speaking to Mbithe Muema, the Chief Business Officer right here at the Nairobi Securities Exchange, really trying to dissect half year and how the state of the market is. Mbithe, we stopped at encouragement of how people should buy in at this particular season. And you mentioned a few things that, there are many ways of entry, especially for our retail investors. And I wanted you to expand a little bit on that for a minute or so. I know it could be a whole conversation.
Yes.
What is this that anybody who's watching with their 2K, 5K, 10K, and you can see, entries for them?
So there are numerous opportunities, and I wish the camera was rolling when you were on break, but nonetheless, I think we were discussing the fact that for retail investors, you can either come into the spot market, which is now buying all the stocks that are behind it,
You're right.
but we also have the derivatives market, where you actually buy stocks, but you actually put a fraction of what you'd put into the main market.
Yeah.
Now, what happens with the derivatives, you can either use them to hedge against loss if the market is coming down.
Yeah.
But if the market is going up, you can actually use them to make a profit as the market is getting into a recovery.
Yeah.
We've agreed that the market is actually getting into a recovery.
Absolutely.
We've seen Safaricom move from 14 to 19. Now, I was discussing with my team and we were asking ourselves, what are the opportunities in this current quarter that people should pay attention to? And we saw something very interesting on derivatives. We actually saw if you could actually go long on a Safaricom September contract, you only need to put in as little as about 2,100 shillings. Wow. And that could take you almost to about 5,000 shillings. So you buy the contract and you're buying it at Safaricom at 19. If Safaricom moves to about 20.5, 21 shillings, you're in the money.
You're in the money.
So this we're not giving investment advice, but we were looking and saying, what are the opportunities? And this retail investor is the same person who puts money on betting, is the same person who puts money in sharas, is the same person who from Friday to Sunday is drinking. We've seen, this week the nation did say that the nation has a lot of people who are drinking, which is very sad.
Yeah.
So we are saying, just get as little as 2,000, put your skin in the game and understand how it works. And open a derivatives account. We have all the stockbrokers, money stockbrokers and investment banks that are offering this opportunity. Go to the NSE website, look at any of the companies there, engage with them and tell them, I want to actually engage in derivatives. So with as little as 2,000 shillings, you're asking, what's the contract that I'm buying now?
You're right.
So, and that the conversation we want to have with as many retail investors is to actually help you unpack. How do you actually come into the market? Do I come into A? Do I come into platform B? Do I come into platform C? But I think now for derivatives and most of this young retail investors are either betting or doing US stocks. Pay attention to that. You can actually make money as the market is going up with a fraction of the amount of money you'd actually put into the spot market. So I think that's something that people need to pay attention to. And as always, we are more than happy to engage with them. And we can even think about doing a Twitter space or a social media space between yourself and ourselves, just to be able to curate that interest and help people appreciate how you can literally come in step by step.
Absolutely. And maybe to let our viewers know that, check on our social media handles, and one of these finds very soon we are getting to the spaces and all that.
Yes.
Let's move on to some recent developments that happened, especially with the new government that came in. We saw the president very keen on the markets and everything as he came, visited and made some announcements, and hopefully we might see some of the state-owned enterprises really get to list. And I know there's a conversation that is ongoing, and we held a conversation as well on the Trading Bell show with the PS, Abubakar Hassan. And he was quite optimistic on the strides that we are making. You sit on the desk that sees this all happening. What's the status and what can you tell investors?
Oh, these companies are coming. You better have your account open and ready. You know what we've done as the NSC?
Yeah.
We actually have an eIPO platform. So when these opportunities come or subsequent opportunities come, you'll just go to your phone. And you'll be able to actually immediately tap into these opportunities. Wow. But nonetheless, where we're at, it's the privatization bill is the one that had been taken to Parliament. That needs to go through the entire parliamentary process for then the privatization process to actually begin. So that is really from the government's perspective. But as the capital markets, we are very keen and we are very excited to be able to host these companies. And the government has some very interesting opportunities that they can bring. So we are optimistic, and I think we are seeing a recovery in the markets as the valuations are coming up. So we do see that opportunity coming to a doorstep near you, literally to your phone, near you very, very soon. Very optimistic. And I think also what we've done as the capital markets is We are engaging with different entities, Ministry of Investment and Trade and Industry, National Treasury, the Office of the President, to ensure that our infrastructure is ready when they're ready.
Okay.
But over and above that, when His Excellency Dr. William Ruto also came here, he left us with a challenge. He said 1 for 1. He said, if I bring 6, you better look for 6 from the private sector.
Yeah.
So we have been working very hard. There is a round table of the capital market industry. Our CEOs and the chairman of the entities that make up the capital markets have actually been on a strategic push to actually go meet companies and invite them to list.
Yeah.
And on that basis, we're actually hoping to be able to have some positive news in this second half of the year. We are seeing interest. We are repositioning the value proposition for the NSE as an exit strategy for you and looking into coming into the market and creating liquidity for your shareholders, as it were.
Wow. We're looking forward to this, definitely.
Oh,
We're
yes.
also going to be ready for it.
We are our bells are ready.
They're ready.
Very ready.
All right. As we come to the close of this conversation, I have two sort of areas I would like you to comment on. One of it is I have been seeing you and, of course, the leadership hosting some of the delegations from other African countries. I'd like to know, are we seeing sort of a more scaling up of the interlinkage of exchanges? And of course, you have also been having forums with SMEs and talking to them. I would want to know what's the agenda and what's going down there.
Okay.
Please.
Now, our market, as I said earlier, is a lot of the trading activity is dominated by foreign investors.
Yeah.
But the domicile of the foreign investors has traditionally been the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and South Africa. So as an industry, then, we have been asking ourselves, how can we actually get different pools of capital to come and engage so that we can manage the situation of demand and supply? So all these entities that come in here, all the delegations that come in here, we are then working with the government to say, as you're having government-to-government engagements, can we actually open up our markets to them for them to see the opportunities?
Yeah.
Some of the things we're exploring is cross-listings. How can we have companies that are cross-listed from those countries into here?
Yeah.
How can you have companies cross-listed from here to there? And it also ties in with the privatization agenda because it's trying to get a pool of capital that was not otherwise looking at our markets.
Yeah.
Second other important thing on that is the Africa Free Continental Trade Area, AFCTEA. And that has been a great opportunity, at least for governments and businesses. But then for us as a capital markets, we are exploring it. And we want to get to the place where we can actually go to a company such as Dangote and say, if you're open, having your operations and you want to set up in East Africa, why not list on the NSC and raise capital from there? Conversely, for Equity Bank, as they're expanding into the region, then we want to be able to say, why don't you actually use our linkages as African stock exchanges and the association of that, and go to another country that you're getting into and raise capital for your operations in that country and in that stock exchange.
Yeah.
So that now we are using domestic capital to support operations of a Pan-African nature in the domicile countries.
Yeah.
So that's a very exciting opportunity that we actually see.
All right. Actually, you just mentioned something about corporates and thinking about, because sometimes, and I've had you in a forum speak and say that, listen, the market is not just about the trading of shares.
Yes.
We also here to help companies raise, debt for their operations and the like. And I'm keen to ask, how is this going? And are we still seeing appetites from corporates and institutions?
There's a lot of appetite. And as always, there's always something unique about Kenya. So today, about 99% of the funding comes from the banking sector.
Yes.
But when you actually look at the history of capital raising on the NSC, once the capital that was raised here actually surpassed the banking sector.
Absolutely.
And that was when Safaricom IPO happened.
Yeah.
We looked at the amount of new capital that was raised in the banking sector vis-a-vis the industry, and Safaricom actually surpassed all the capital that had been raised in the banking sector.
Yeah.
That tells us that ideally the capital markets can be a space for raising capital.
Yeah.
But what we are saying is we don't want to compete with the banking sector. We want to complement the banking sector.
Okay.
We are in an interest rate environment that's on the rise. So that is rising, making it very expensive for companies to raise money.
You're right.
Our proposition is then consider the capital markets for corporate bonds. And here's the difference between corporate bonds and your typical bank debt. When you borrow a loan, Maina, from the first point you start making your payments, you pay principal and you pay interest.
Yeah.
Now, for our corporate bonds, you don't pay principal. You pay interest only 2 times in a year.
Oh.
So you're managing your cash flow.
Okay.
Then you pay your principal at the end of 5 years. That's when your bond expires.
Yes.
So what we've actually seen is then companies coming to us and saying, we want to manage our cash flows for new projects.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to raise a corporate bond in the market?
Okay.
Minimum size, 50 million. 50 million is really a company that has revenues of 100 million.
Yeah.
They can actually afford to raise an opportunity of 50 million in our markets today. Those are the companies that we are looking at. So that if you actually raise 50 million shillings, if you were to raise it at 15%, each and every single month you're paying principal and interest to the bank.
Yeah.
If you raise the 50 million here, you're only paying 15% every single year, and then you pay the 50 million after your 5 years. That allows you to get into a project,
Absolutely.
break even, make money, and manage your cash flow.
Sure.
Second point, Maina, is actually last year, it was me knocking on as many doors as I can.
Yeah.
This year, people are saying, how does this thing work? People are calling and saying, how do your corporate bonds work? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
How quickly can I be able to raise funding? Because it's a good proposition. Because in this interest rate environment, you really have to manage your sources of funding. Otherwise, you could get to a point where your projects no longer give you a return that is more than what you have to pay out to the bank. So it has been very interesting, and that's something that we are propositioning.
Yeah.
Now, I know we are about to come to the end, but I did want to talk about something that we bring on MSMEs.
Please.
Over and above the corporate bonds, we have set up a platform that is called NSE Connect.
Okay.
It's an investor screening platform where you can actually come in as an SME. If you're looking for equity, if you're looking for debt, you can be able to raise either of the two off of this platform. We've actually come up with a very interesting proposition for these SMEs.
Okay.
Now, we appreciate an SME is not like a multinational.
Absolutely.
Neither is it a large corporate.
Certainly.
So the requirements are very different.
Yeah.
So what we've said is, how do we actually cater to these SMEs that contribute about 80% of the activity in terms of what happens in our Kenyan economy?
You're right.
So we said we have a strategy in terms of getting them in. We said, first and foremost, coming through Ibuka, which is an incubator program that prepares you for capital raising.
Yeah.
Secondly, when you come in, if you're registered, you have your annual reports, and you know what your funding need is, come on to NSC Connect. So NSC Connect effectively looks at your financials. It gives you a ranking on your business score, how your business strategy is looking like, how are your financials looking like, what does your corporate governance look like, do I have a board, what are you doing about your internal processes?
Yeah.
Then it also gives you a valuation. So you can actually come on there and say, how do I look like? It's a mirror.
Yeah.
And the thing with SMEs, they think they're here.
You're always thinking up there.
But you're here.
Yeah.
So it's good to bridge that gap.
Yes.
And then at the end of it, then it asks you, do you want to raise equity? Do you want to raise debt? Then that platform then actually is open to financial partners who we've actually engaged with, who then come and look for the opportunities. And it doesn't just focus on Nairobi. It actually needs opportunities across all the 47 counties.
Wow.
Then once you get to that point, if a company wants to invest in you and says, I want to put to buy shares, or I'm happy to give you a bond, if you're raising debt, then the next step is we come into the growth and enterprise market segment of the NSE, which is a segment that was purely curated for SMEs. You come and get into that segment. It's a very simple process. In less than a month, you're in. And now, as you're engaging with the investors, you can actually facilitate your transactions on the NSE. So it provides a liquidity platform. And if you don't want to be on the NSE, we have an unquoted securities platform. You're now calling it Soko Rahisi.
Yes.
Like, come bring your SME, let people evaluate the risk, let people see what opportunities are there, let them put money in. You grow your business. So as we grow it, that's what we want to do. And we are hoping, we will be launching it in the month of August. So we hope you can be there to at least oversee the events. But we want to welcome as many of you as possible just to engage with us. We are going to different associations, speaking to them about it. And we think it's a great opportunity to just bring the investors and all the opportunities together, and for people to appreciate that these are SMEs. The risks are a bit higher, but if you appreciate those risks, then you can be able to price those risks. So that's very exciting for us.
It's exciting news. That's August, right?
Yes.
So we're looking forward to that.
Yes, we are.
Mbithe, we could go on and on and on.
We could.
But certainly we have to come to a close on this, but definitely we'll be reaching out again to just understand the progress and what is happening. Of course, I have to give you 30 seconds to one message to investors.
Okay.
What's your last word for them? Straight to the camera.
So 2 things for investors. Look at this as an opportunity for you to buy entities that are offered to you at a discount for the medium to the long term. you can be able to make a very good return on equities. And more so to the retail investors, the people who are younger, come and buy shares today, appreciate and tap into these opportunities, earn a dividend, make money when the prices go up. This is the right time to pay attention to the market. Second thing I'd like to say to the companies, if you are looking to actually fund your businesses, your expansion and your operations, then the NSE is the place to be. We have a solution and a proposition for the SMEs, which is the NSE Connect. We would like you to come and either raise a corporate bond in our markets or open up your opportunities to select investors or to even a wider range of investors. So consider the capital markets as your next best friend outside of the banking sector. We are always here and open and happy to support you all. And as always, I would like to say, God bless you, God bless Kenya, and thank you for your time today.
Wow, thank you so much. Mbithe Muema there, Chief Business Officer, Nairobi Securities Exchange. Thank you once again.
You're welcome.
That brings us to the end of this conversation right here. Of course, very optimistic. Mbithe Muema saying, you know what, this is the best time for you to get in. We want to leave you with this. Please be peaceful all around. Kenya belongs to all of us. And as Mbithe has put it across, we keep praying and hoping that peace shall always prevail for us to do business well. Thank you so much for your time once again. I leave you now with the market.